Today on Franchise Legends, we're talking about what it really means to help people become business owners, not just operators. Our guest is Alex, the CEO and founder of Ideal Siding, one of the fastest growing siding renovation franchises in North America. In just 4 short years, Alex and his team have taken Ideal Siding from $0 to over $1 million in their very first test location, and they've expanded to 50 plus franchise owners, while also completing 1,000 siding projects and earned recognition as the fastest growing siding company in Canada. But this story isn't just about growth, it's about fairness, systems, and freedom. Alex saw an industry where hardworking crews were underpaid, homeowners were overcharged, and no national brand had stepped in to fix the imbalance. Using his background in finance and nearly a decade of industry experience, he built a franchise model that allows homeowners to pay less, crews to earn more, and everyday people to step into business ownership with confidence. Now, Ideal Siding is expanding into the United States on a mission to help more people enjoy building equity and their empire, while also owning a business that actually works. Let's dive into the story, the model, and the opportunity behind Ideal Siding. Welcome, Alex. Well, I am so excited to meet you, Alex, and thank you for joining us on Legends Podcast, our Franchise Legends podcast today. And I am curious about your journey and your vision. And so take us back to a moment when this all started. What did you see happening in the siding industry that made you say, this needs to change?
A lot of different things, but one of the biggest one was there was a local company in our market, and they had a policy when they take 50% deposit and then 50% is done at the end of the project. They partnered with the one of the banks to finance projects, and they collected 2 million worth of deposits from clients. And then they decided to close the company. So all those clients that they took deposit from started getting mail from banks saying, hey, you need to pay us principal interest. And they said, well, but I didn't have anything done in my house.
Yeah.
So I started looking at researching the industry, and I realized it's not just our market, it's happening in other markets as well. And there's not a single national company that is reliable that I would recommend to my parents, or I'll hire myself. And I thought, why is nobody doing it? And I called as many people in franchising that I could find to ask them this question: is like, hey, why nobody did it? And they gave me a lot of good reasons. But one person told me it's actually can be done, and based on what you guys design of your system that you want to do, it actually could be have a chance of being successful. And I thought that someone needs to build a national company that will be reliable in the space. It's the largest expense when it comes to home improvement. Siding is the most expensive piece, more expensive than kitchen or roof or flooring or windows or anything else.
Wow.
And when people are spending, 30 or 50 or $70,000 on this, there must be a reliable company that has a national reach and will not disappear. So that was
Absolutely.
the
And that story of credibility is so important for homeowners. What a great start, and what a great position for your company to start out in a space where you were solving a need for homeowners to be able to immediately be able to trust you.
yeah. And we are going one step at a time. We're still in process of building this company, but we have really great examples of Mr. Router, Sir Pro, California Closets. All those brands are well known in their particular niche. And if I were doing my renovation, I would work with them probably. And we want to build something like this for siding industry.
Right, absolutely. Well, you spent nearly 9 years, was it, refining this model before launching Ideal Siding? Is that correct?
I first got introduced to siding in 2012. So what is it? 14 years ago, when I was helping my friend from church to get some clients, and Since then, I was helping different siding companies to grow. I was providing those leads across multiple markets. Then I partnered with one of those clients, and we developed a construction company together. And then I was just mostly focused on marketing piece for a long time. In 2018, I decided that maybe we should try test units, test locations to see if it is franchisable and we can actually be successful with scaling it. So we launched one location in 2018, then we launched three more locations in 2019 to test the systems. And we picked very, very different markets from each other, just to see if it's just one market where everything works or it's actually could be duplicated in a smaller market or brick heavy market. And we got positive results in all four markets. And
Wow.
then we decided to franchising. So I've been in the industry for 14 years, but in terms of our brand and the model that we're running it since 2018.
Wow. Well, you talk about models. And so I'm curious, a lot of people talk about building a fair business model. And what does fairness look like to you in the model of your business for homeowners, for your crews and for your owners, your franchise owners? I'm curious, since that was kind of that fairness aspect was kind of a piece of how you launched.
This is a very philosophical question. There is always, when people vote, for example, for whatever politics system, they either choose to pay more taxes or to pay less taxes, right? And there are two groups. One wants one thing, and another one another thing. So, in terms of fairness, I look at it as more of a physics problem on a business level. For example, if the company has a large debt, it needs to service this debt. So part of the proceeding, part of this profit goes to banks or investors that lended the money. So you need to be fair to them. If you don't have those lenders, now you have more profit that can be distributed between clients by giving them better deals, operators by them making more money, franchisor by franchisor being more successful and building better support system.
Mhm.
So on a just as example, on a physics level, if you have less debt, typically you have more money for everything else, or less debt service. Like it could be company could have investors that look at it as a long term and they are not expecting cash flow right away, then the debt service is minimal. But what we were looking to do is to provide better career path for installers in the industry because they were treated fairly poorly. And I think things are getting better overall in the industry over the last maybe 5-10 years. But once those installers work with us, their expectations become much higher. And then they expect similar things from other companies in the industry, which is a really, really amazing thing that is happening. Then for homeowners, our top competitor is offering 1 year workmanship warranty. They're our largest siding company. We offer 25-year workmanship warranty. How is it fair to homeowners to have 1 year workmanship warranty and they're charging double of what we charge? Just to give you perspective.
Yeah.
Um, and I was looking from it from perspective of clients all the time. Because I would not see us as a franchise company. I would see us as a siding company, first of all. And in order to build a successful siding company, you need to make your clients happy, keep them happy, and keep them to, make great raving fans.
Yes.
And very often when they get quote from other companies and then they talk to us and it's like it's a day night difference. But again, it will take us probably a while to get to the scale and refinement of systems and teams and processes to be as good as those well-known brands in other industries. But this is our goal. Like this is what we're improving on every year or every month,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, it sounds like those goals are what allowed Ideal Sighting to be scalable as well, and those teams and processes, those systems that are already in place. As far as scaling, tell me how you have scaled and in your size now.
It's actually very interesting that when I was selling leads doing marketing, I noticed that companies go to about 6 to 8 million revenue in siding space, in siding niche, and then they start struggling. And to me, it was always Interesting. Why would you feel really good at 4 million and then start struggling at six, seven, eight, or
Yeah.
up to 10?
Yeah.
And what I realized is that once you scale your business size wise, you need a different team structure, you need different operating system in your business, and it's just a different business. It's not a small family, where three people communicate to each other. It's already maybe 10, maybe 15 people running the business. The communication path is different. Everything is different. And those companies start struggling with overhead because they start
Mhm.
putting a lot of things that they need to put as a medium-sized organization. It's still a small business, but I call it medium comparing to other, selling companies. Like to me, 1, 2 million is a small company. 5, 6, 7 is a medium-sized company, and then like over 10 million, I would consider as a bigger company with bigger problems or different type of problems. So my goal was to build business that will be scalable without actually having those issues at 7, 8 million mark.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest thing. Another part was, how do we scale that if things like COVID or
Mhm.
any meltdown of economy, whatever happens in terms of this event that it wasn't predicted, and we need to be ready for this. How do we scale down
Mm.
that we can survive it? Because what I've seen in I didn't experience 2007, 2008 in business, but I was talking to a lot of people who did, and they were saying what actually made them survive this period. And a lot of it helped us to design a model that was very flexible to scale down when needed and scale up very fast when needed. So if there is a boom in economy, we can scale faster than other companies. And
Mhm.
if there is a lockdown situation in particular areas, we can scale down the way that we would not have losses that will kill the business just
Yes.
in a few months.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've taken some insightful information to mitigate that risk of scaling up or scaling down. And I'm curious, does that give franchise owners an advantage over independent operators?
Yes. So as I said, our top competitor, they're charging double of our price.
Oh,
So
wow.
imagine you're a homeowner and you're paying double. So
Mm.
the three or four larger companies that we compete against, we're half of their price. Now, the operators that, for example, install siding themselves, we cannot
Yeah.
compete with them, right? We our franchisees do not install siding. They have their own costs, but we centralized a lot of expensive things that franchisee might have, so they only pay percentage of what it normally would cost them if they had office and admin person and call center and marketing and finance and a lot of other pieces or
Yeah.
design. So, for example, our designers, there's one centralized designer who goes on calls with every homeowner across North America, who specializes in exterior designer, and she can help anyone with their exterior design, color consultation, all those things. And person like this is a expensive asset for a company, but once you
Absolutely.
split it between 90 locations that we have right now, it's a small fraction of the cost, and we know that local companies cannot hire a person like this in house. And when you look at our industry, if you compare, for example, to car maintenance, you can let's say you drive a car, it's 4 years old, and you drive it and something broke, and you drive it to the either dealership where you bought the car. It might be expensive. You might find dealership that will be a little bit less expensive, or you
Mhm.
can find a garage where the guy just fixes stuff himself. Of course, garage will be, let's say, what do you, I don't know exact price, but let's say $30, $40 an hour, and then dealership will be $140 an hour, and then cheaper dealership will be $110 an hour. And you choose what you want to have. Do you want to have peace of mind that was done and you know where to come back, or do you want better price? But this person might not have tools. This person might not be knowledge or team to ask things. It's just different service. So we
Yes.
don't compare ourselves to garage mechanic. we compare ourselves to what we are one of the dealerships, and there are number of great established siding companies in some of the markets. We are their competitor. Our goal is to compete with them. We cannot compete with the handyman who watched a YouTube video on how to install siding. It's
Right.
just a different service. And when it comes to clients, there was a I had a conversation with Hunter Douglas. They're great franchise in blinds industry, but their blinds are extremely expensive. And I was asking like, I we just bought a place and we had to replace our blinds, and we went to Home Depot and just ordered our blinds there, and they installed it for us, and I paid 5 times less than what you guys were asking me. And maybe my blinds are not as good, but he told me, you don't understand. We don't work with people like you. We work with people who are buying third, fourth home. When you
Mm,
buy a first home, you install blinds yourself and you go to Home Depot and buy them. When you buy your second home, you go to Budget Blinds or Blooming Blinds, like company like this. But when you buy your third or fourth home, you go to us because you want to be proud that you used our brand and you're okay to pay premium. And it hit me. I was like, Hunter Douglas is a successful company,
right.
and they have their own niche, and they're okay with it, and everything. And the same applies to pretty much any other brand. So in the niche where we are at, and let's call it like this dealership level, we are very, very competitive. Because we centralize a lot of expenses, and our overhead locally is very, very small.
Yeah.
But when it comes to person that can install something themselves, of course, it's just not possible to compete with them.
Yeah. Well, that insight on the competitive advantage for a franchise owner versus an independent operator is very enlightening. The competitive advantages that come along with being a franchise owner versus that independent operator. And so, as our listeners may be stuck, in trying to decide, maybe they're in a corporate role and they're trying to decide, do I branch into a franchise? I want to open my own system, um, or do I follow a system that's already proven and tried and true, like what you have been sharing? And what would you say to someone that wants that freedom but fears the risk of ownership in a franchise? The systems, the process, the coaching is already there in a franchise system. You've already done the pricing structure, those types of things, and mitigated all those risks. And I'm curious what you would say to someone that wants that freedom to branch out into their own franchise.
Uh, when we were launching our Seattle location, it was so difficult comparing to our first location that I realized that if I wasn't sure that this model works,
Mm,
I would probably stop at some point. And I realized how difficult it is to build business by yourself in almost any industry, because all the industries got more competitive over the last 5 years, and how lonely it is and how difficult you need to figure out everything single thing. So some people are okay to figure out everything themselves. And typically there are younger people who, if they fail, that's okay. They still have 40 years ahead of them. But I see franchising as a really good way to build a business and have support needed. Um, and I've seen a lot of people achieve great results with different franchise systems. It's not for everyone, definitely, but it's one of the good options to build business for sure.
right. And ideal sighting is expanding in the US market, correct? In in Canada?
Yeah, we have about 70 locations in the States and over 20 in Canada. So it long term, 90% of our market will be United States in terms of revenue.
Okay. And so I'm just curious, what excites you most about helping entrepreneurs start their own business in a franchise system? Is there some personal satisfaction or reward that you feel on helping others launch? It sounds like you dealt with some startup of your own pressures, but I can tell you're a very intellectual individual and you thought through those systems. And I'm curious if being able to share that with others gives you some sort of reward.
Building business is a very big challenge, and there are not that many people who build their businesses to 1 million or 10 million mark. And I always look at what motivates the person and what's their pain point. So when we are talking to candidates, we often ask them, why would you do this? Building business is difficult. right? If it was easy, everyone will be doing it. But the results you get by building business are also the results you cannot get in many other safer way. It's like investing in S&P 500 versus investing in JC, or bond. Like it's the same idea. You cannot expect higher reward if you don't take the risk. So for me, when we talk to candidates, I need to understand what they're paying right now and running the business. If they're successful and everything is great, I know their worth, but I'm trying to understand are they ready to make this step into ownership, business ownership. And a lot of people are, who get to the point where they're already talking to me. But I then I realize that being management consultant is not all roses and butterflies. Being running Chick-fil-A as a general manager is not that easy. And some jobs are not paying that much. And when I hear those stories of what those people doing right now and why they think of running the business or getting into franchising, I realized that even though running franchise and running business is difficult, being an employee in many ways could be even more difficult. It just maybe less stress, but less reward, less satisfaction, less freedom, and a lot of those things. And because I've been in business for such a long time, I already forgot how bad other options are. And when I talk to candidates, it's a fresh reminder for me because my dream was to work for McKinsey or A.T. Kearney or Boston Consulting Group. But when I talk to people who work there, they're like, Alex, you actually did the right thing by launching your business. This is the reality. But yeah, I really love hearing those stories. And when I know that the pain of building this, especially first, second year, I know the other side, like why those people are not staying where they are.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I am curious for someone listening today who feels like this might be their next chapter. What would be the first step that they take? Contacting you or reaching out via email?
Yeah, they can go to idealsiding.com and apply there. Google and kind of search more information about us and watch different podcasts and just do their own research. Yeah, we're looking forward to talking to more people who are interested in launching their business, and hopefully they're ready and ready for the next big challenge in their life.
Alex, what an insightful conversation with you today. Thank you so much for joining our Franchise Legends podcast. We are honored that you have shared some of your background and some of your ups and downs in the business, and also how you've scaled, how you've created systems and processes that have been able to allow you to scale and mitigate that risk of whether getting larger or getting smaller, depending on the market. And thank you so much for sharing all of those insights. We really appreciate that. And I know our listeners will be better informed and have even a better, higher sense of confidence and peace of mind into taking that next step in their journey of franchising.
Thank you, Dill. It was a pleasure to talk to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Have a great day.